hope that... Oh, it's right. It's good. We're on. Recording. Hi.
Hey, hi. The yahoos are back.
Been a little while, but we're back. Oh, man.
Why do we call ourselves yahoos?
Yeah, why do we call ourselves yahoos?
Well, because the majority of people who call themselves Christians would say we are yahoos.
That is true.
See?
That's true.
We're full of excrement.
Yeah. I like all these words.
Yeah, I like that nice words, you know.
There's a whole list of names that we could be called,
Yeah.
but excrement is a good one.
Yeah, we're suffering from cranial rectamitis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can see it by the looks of my head.
Right. But your hair's looking nice.
So, hey, we're here to talk about something we talked about in our first video.
Yep. And it has been a while since our first video.
It's about 3 years, actually. Close to 3 years.
And things have not improved since What a Mess.
Yeah. What a Mess is getting worse, not better.
Yep. We live in a world that is a mess, and we talked about it then, and it has only gotten far more wicked. And because of that, we have talked a bit about how God's judgment is falling on America.
Now, you cannot kill millions and millions and millions of babies in the womb and not experience God's judgment.
No.
Now, I don't care what you think, it doesn't really matter. God has a precedent.
Yeah. And many nations have tried it, and it has never worked for them.
And judgment always comes in the second and third generation after this starts.
Yeah. It doesn't matter whether they were, quote, God's people, or if they were a pagan nation. It
doesn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Judgment comes. Now, I don't know. Do you remember when Roe versus Wade came? Was that 68?
I don't know the exact years, but it was around 60s, 70s?
68, I think. Might be 63. But I know it was in the 60s. And Roe versus Wade allowed America to kill its babies. And so, when the Supreme Court said you could, that meant God said you could.
That's how God determines what's okay or not, is because now it's lawful in the country you live in, so now God has to agree with it.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but...
So let's call it 60, let's call it 70.
Okay, just for
so
easy
80,
numbers.
90, 2000, 2010, 2020, we're getting 20, we're past 25. So 80. 70 to 80 to 90 to 2000 to 2010 to 2020, 55 years. Now, I don't know what a generation is. I've studied it. I have no idea. Probably 30 years. And once you enter into your third generation, judgment comes. I think judgment's already here.
Yeah, we've even in just the last year or so, the things that have been taking place, how do you look at it other than judgment?
Well, say, what do you mean by judgment? I mean inflation causing people to find it difficult to eat. You say, well, that's just poor people that are lazy. No, the lazy people are on the government dole.
Yeah, they seem to be doing just fine.
But that's going to come to a halt.
Yep.
The government's so far in debt, they can't keep doing this forever. Judgment is coming in our debt.
Yep.
We're going to have the government print money soon. Yep. They print more money. Of course.
Sure. Why not?
They got any choice? They got to pay interest on $38 trillion, and They ain't got any money.
I know. We've been trying to figure out how we can get one of those machines at the bank. Where you can just push the button and just flops out money.
I want one of those money print machines like my local credit union has.
Then maybe we could be okay for a little while.
Me and Dan.
Yeah.
The rest of you up the canoe up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah, up the creek of excrement.
Yeah. Anyway, what are the signs of judgment? Well, the dollar is basically being rejected worldwide. Say, well, it hasn't come real quick yet. No, it hasn't. But it's moving steadily towards everybody getting rid of dollars and buying gold and silver.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's judgment.
Yep. People's ability to pay for things is starting to come in the form of more in using credit rather than actual money that they have. That it's getting worse. Our financial stability is eroding out from underneath us.
Well, in '72, Nixon got us out of the gold standard. And the reason for that is that the French weren't that stupid. They had decided that we had a lot more money printed out there than we had gold to back it up. So basically, in the '70s, France sent a battleship of some sort to New York full of dollars. And unloaded a skid after skid of dollars in New York and said, hey, we want the gold.
Yeah, we don't want the paper
We
anymore.
don't want paper. Paper is nothing but good for fire start. We want the gold.
Well, it could be used for something else.
And the French got the gold. And then the French wanted another thing of gold because they knew that there was more dollars out there than there was gold to cover the dollars. So Nixon was left with our gold draining away.
Like, oh no.
Oh yeah, they were sucking our gold out of our country, and there was no gold, getting to be no gold behind the dollar. And so he said, there will be no gold behind the dollar. You can't trade it for gold. Well, by that time, we had unloaded probably 40-50% of our gold and said it's Europe. I feel sorry for the Europeans, man.
Yeah. Terrible.
But it's judgment. This isn't just happenstance, this is judgment. Now we have dollars without any backing except, quote, the good faith and credit of the United States.
Well, yeah, faith, we talked about faith one time.
A jump.
And that it's a jump, and it is kind of a jump
into an unknown realm.
To an unknown realm of believing that somehow a piece of paper has inherent value. And if you believe it hard enough, I guess you
I could go and open my drawer and show you all kinds of paper.
Yeah. I got rolls of it. I got these rolls for free. It's a roll of paper.
Of course you got it for free.
Yeah, that's right. I can't afford to buy these. It's a roll of paper. I got lots of paper. And maybe if I believe hard enough, and if I can get other people to believe hard enough, that's money.
I've actually tried it. I have taken a piece of paper and wrote $500 on it and handed it to a guy in payment saying, there, this will buy a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the government can do it, why can't I?
Yeah, he took it.
I'll put good faith and credit of me,
Yeah.
Mr. Al.
Yep, and he took it, right?
Oh, no.
And the problem is, around the world, people
That's
are starting...
happening. People aren't going to take that dollar.
Yep, people are starting to go, no. No, you fooled us for a while, and...
Yeah, fool me once, shame on me.
Yep.
Fool me again and again and again. Shame on you and me.
Yep.
Fool me again and again, shame on me.
Yep. And that's just one area where judgment is falling on America. Not to include our food or our standing in general with the rest of the world. And people's day to day is being affected by judgment.
In November, silver was still priced in the 30s. Then in late November, it went up a little bit. And then in December, it went up to $120. Wait a minute. Low mid to high 30s to 120. Yes, it went up to $120. Well, what did that say? That said that you needed 120 of these green pieces of paper to get an ounce of silver when you had been able to get it for 30. And that tells you, and it's come back down to 70 or 80 now, but it tells you something. That little piece of paper has lost its inherent value. It has no value. The only value that paper has is some idiot will take it and give you something. That is what we did with our trade. We printed dollars and gave them to foreigners and took their goods. Boy, were they stupid. We print dollars and they work their hind end off and send us something decent.
Right. Because, why wouldn't you set up a system where you could just hand somebody a piece of paper? I mean,
I
tried it. I'm thinking of trying it.
Yeah.
Like, man, where I live, if I could pay my bills with just a piece of paper, I can do that for a while with my paper stocks.
Yeah, look at. So let's understand. Gold is now $5,800. In early 2000, I bought gold for less than $300. So it went from less than $300 to $5,500 in early 2000. Now we're in 2023 yet, 2030 I mean. So that's 20 years ago, 25 years ago. 25 years ago, an ounce of gold was less than $300. I bought it. I had a lot of money back then. I had $300 and I bought 2 ounces of gold. Man, was that quite a purchase. And so I bought 2 ounces of gold, and that 2 ounces today is worth $5,500 a piece. But don't worry, things are improving.
See, the problem is that it's not that gold got any more valuable.
No.
It, in and of itself, didn't change
A bit. What happened is what you bought required more of those dollars.
There is an example of this where it's talked about, where it said there will come a time when a man will work a whole day
For a
loaf of bread.
That's in Revelation.
And we are moving in a direction where that's a reality.
That's coming. Now, I agree that currently there are a substantial number, and Trump didn't help this, who are on SNAP, and they're eating pretty good off the government. And there are people who are still eating on food pantries, maybe. I don't know. But you can't keep doing that.
Right. You can only go so long before it just comes to a grinding halt.
My friend, judgment is already here. It's just moving along slowly on. Every time you go to the grocery store, judgment says, hey, you got to pay a little more. You got to pay a little more. And that's God.
We've made mention of Jeremiah in other videos. And in Jeremiah's day, he kept warning that judgment was coming, to the point where they're sitting right in the middle of judgment. And we are warning because God has told us that judgment was coming to America. And it was coming, and it was coming, and it was coming, and there came a day with Jeremiah where judgment is here.
It took approximately 30 years for Jeremiah's judgment to come into action. So God spent a little less than 30 years warning and warning and warning and warning. And you know who listened? Nobody. No. can't happen to us. We are God's people. We have, we got the temple.
Yeah.
We got the Shekinah, the presence of God in the temple. Certainly God will never allow this to be overrun by pagan, wicked nations, the Gentiles.
There's two things that I hear all the time on the internet. One is people say, we're America, we're the greatest nation that there's ever been. Uh-huh. So does that mean that we don't get to face judgment? So we can do whatever we want and God just has to go, no. See, you don't understand. That's America. They don't have to go through judgment. Or, we still plaster it everywhere. God bless America. God can't bless America. He can't. You cannot disobey everything that God says and then expect him to bless you.
God said, you shall not murder. Our nation has a standard of murder. Good, practical, available murder. And we say, well, God's just got to put up with that. I hate to tell you this. He ain't gonna.
Nope.
He ain't gonna.
God has not changed his mind on what he said. He said, you shall not murder. I don't see where God said, okay, now you can.
Because the Supreme Court said you could. And let me assure you, that Supreme Court has already stood in the face of God, or will, for what they did back then. Most of them already have stood in the presence of God. Because it says, appointed unto a man once to die, and then the judgment. A judgment for what the things they have done in their body. So, folks, keep an eye on what the heck's going on in your life. Keep an eye on, house insurance? Oh, I saw. Yeah. Buying a house? Almost impossible. A middle-class family can hardly, a poor family can't. I'm sorry, you're stuck in an apartment and there's where you're going to live the rest of your life.
Yep.
Is that not judgment?
There's people in this country, and it happens all the time now. Now it's a lot more common than it used to be. You can have insurance. You can have insurance. The people in California, they had insurance. They had fire insurance because they lived in a place where, hey, we get fires. Try to collect on it. They can't get it. And what do?
So, if you are a young person in America, you might even be a college graduate. Can't find a job that'll pay for a house. So you are stuck living in an apartment, giving some money to some rich guy for the rest of your life. That's a slave. That is a form of slavery. When you have no choice, you cannot afford a home of your own and get free from the attachment of the rich charging you money every month, you're a slave. Like it or not, you're a slave.
And this country is not done going into slavery.
And every year, a higher financial bracket can no longer buy a home. And you don't think that's judgment? Well, good. If you're young people, enjoy being a slave then. Or repent. What? God says you need to repent. America needs to repent. When Jonah went to Nineveh, they repented. They put on sackcloth and ashes and cried before God, and God forgave them.
Yeah, Nineveh was seemingly the greatest city at that time. Huge. I mean, and it's pretty much a good comparison. The quote unquote, the greatest country. And God said, repent. He warned of judgment. And they repented. And God spared that generation. So, we made a video about 3 years ago about coming judgment.
And now we're in the midst of it.
We're in the middle of it.
Some of you are living it every time you pay the rent.
Yep.
You cannot afford a home. And you say, I don't know, things aren't really good here. They're not. You're right. I bought my first home when I was 19 years old. 19. And now the average, I think the first home buyer is in the early 40s today. Early 40s.
Yeah.
What happened between 19 and 40? When I was, let's see, 22 or 23, I built my own cottage on the lake. I bought a lot on the lake, and I built my own cottage there. 2023, yeah. So you must have had quite an occupation. Yeah. I can tell you, I think my wife was working. She worked at a heating and cooling company. And when she came home after working all week, she had $50. After she got paid the taxes, she came home with a little bit less than $50 a week. I'll say, well, wow, I wouldn't work for that. We did. We skipped and skipped and skipped and built a cottage. We were making our house payments. We were building a cottage on very little. I can tell you my first house was less than $10,000.
The crazy part is my first house was like $75,000.
Yeah.
And you can't find a house you can move into right now
Or
for
$75,000.
$75,000.
I paid, do I confess?
You can, sure.
I paid less than $5,000 for my first house. I bought a house, 2 acres of land, a chicken coop, and a garage for less than $5,000.
Oh, man. My down payment.
And you don't think you're under judgment? Who are you kidding?
That is a nation that is under judgment.
Judgment!
That is what it, okay, we can say these things, but what it's saying, these are the things that come with judgment. This is what judgment looks like.
Slowly on, judgment comes.
You're not going to obey the voice of God? Judgment.
Yeah. We're not stopping you. If you want continued judgment, go ahead. Go for it.
Yep. We made a video about the blessings and the cursings.
Yeah.
And that video gives an answer for what got you into judgment and what gets you out of judgment.
Maybe you ought to watch it.
The blessings and the cursings.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yep.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye.